Historic tensions between Tonga and Samoa boil over ahead of Rugby League World Cup clash. Historic tensions between Tonga and Samoa boil over ahead of Rugby League World Cup clash. World Cup organizers say they've done what they can to prevent tensions between rival rugby league nations from boiling over. Saturday's hotly anticipated Rugby League World Cup clash between Tonga and Samoa in Hamilton has been overshadowed by street violence between members of both Pacific communities in South Auckland. The burning of a Samoan flag and the reciprocal ripping up of a Tongan flag at a street gathering led to all-out street brawls in South Auckland during the week leading up to the clash in Hamilton. Rival nation fans clashed in a wild South Auckland street brawl earlier this week. Melino Maka, chair of the Tonga Advisory Council, blames poor organization of the tournament for much of the recent violence around it. "You can't rewrite history, the history is there. A steady calendar of community events and celebrations similar to what happened when New Zealand hosted the 2011 Rugby World Cup would have meant fewer impromptu street gatherings with potential for violence," Maka says. "There's a lot of people that try to use the history for them to start some kind of movement or idea." The game between Tonga and Samoa was being staged in Hamilton, but many interested in the game were resident in Auckland and would likely remain there. Tonga and Samoa go head-to-head on the pitch in Hamilton on Saturday. Maka said he had gone to the organizers of the event months ago with his concerns, but they had told him there was no plan for any community events with Auckland's large Tongan and Samoan communities. "Hamilton will be well looked after, but I worry about here in Auckland. Organizers, we've done our bit." World Cup organizers say they have engaged with Pacific communities. However, Rugby League World Cup General Manager of New Zealand Operations Andrea Nelson said they had engaged with Pacific community leaders in South Auckland and Hamilton ahead of the tournament, and built the tournament program around their feedback. "We're putting everything you would expect in place to keep everyone here happy," she said. Nelson said there had been fantastic events in Maingear and Lieutenant Hulu with the Samoan and Tongan teams, but now in Hamilton the teams were concentrating on getting ready. She said there had been great enthusiasm about the games and they had been regularly meeting with the venues and security to make sure everyone can relax and enjoy their day. "If you look at who bought tickets for this tournament, we've got a bunch of churches and family groups. I think that shows we've got the word out and people are looking forward to the game. Community leaders, it's not the organizers' fault." Manukau Ward Councillor Al Filipina says it's not down to the World Cup organizers to answer to fan violence. He said RLWC's approach to community had been very appropriate and had ensured leaders in the Tongan and Samoan communities were consulted to give a voice to the people, Filipina said. Rather than a reflection of the tournament itself, he suggests the violence was down to youngsters weren't interested in the game trying to be macho. Filipina also said it was not RLWC's responsibility to facilitate fan zones or events which could have been up to the communities themselves, he believes. "Look at the fan day with the Tongan community in Otahuatoa Samoa and Maingear, there were no issues, they just wanted to enjoy their teams." The former South Auckland police officer said it was incorrect to draw comparisons to 2011 Rugby World Cup, as there was violence among young people then too. "Our community and our parents need to take ownership of what their children are doing, and we need to remember that," Let's not point blame at the RLWC or anyone else. Fellow Manukau ward councillor from NFSO Collins said young people were getting too excited and it was important fans calm down. Big hits will happen on the field and it's big love here on the street. We're all from the same area, these are our brothers and sisters getting on the field and we all win at the end of the day. A history of tension. For many, the violent tension illustrated this week will come as a surprise. Overall, the connection between both communities is strong on the back of a large number of intermarriages between Tongans and Samoans in New Zealand. However, one former Lieutenant Hu'u College student said tensions had been simmering for decades between people of both nations across multiple sporting codes and was motivated by an intense dislike between the two. A machete confiscated at a 200-person brawl yesterday will bring back memories of how those tensions once escalated into violent machete fights on the streets of Auckland during the 1980s and 90s. The father of the boy who burned a Samoan flag on Facebook made references to those killings while making a public apology for his son's behavior. Citing posts where people had threatened to chop his son's head off for the slight, he said both communities had been through that before. Please find it in your hearts to forgive my son for his stupidity. Tonga ruled Samoa for 700 years, according to some historical accounts. Depending which rugby league team you support, that period was either one of beneficial unitary government or something akin to slavery. It came to an end sometime around 1200 when two Samoan brothers, Tuna and Fada, led a war party against the Tongan king during a royal visit to Samoa. The bad blood has carried down through the centuries and across oceans. One particularly violent brawl in 1988 between Tongan and Samoan youths resulted in Jonah Lama's uncle, David Fuko, being hacked to death in broad daylight on the streets of Latara.